Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Worth Unlimited Agent Update and Sales Track Training Call. We want to thank you all for joining us. We have quite a few people on. Thank you for being patient with us there. October, we have a wholesale discount for the month of October, and all new agents that sign up in October will be eligible for a 10% wholesale discount for the first 20 days as an agent, and that's if you signed up in September. We've extended that through October 31st, 2019, and that's in your first 20 days of being an agent. October retail discount is 10% retail discount, code retail10, and code is good for 48 hours, and that's been extended through October 31st, 2019. We've been having quite a few live events. I've been traveling again, as many of you all know. I've been out every weekend. I want to give just job great done to Heidi Keener, Tom Keener, Rich Schaffer on the road with me in this last event in Dallas, and the individuals in Dallas that pulled together, Carl Lanku putting people in the room, and Cody putting people in the room, and Todd putting people in the room, and just so many people. Miss Alice, I mean, the list just goes on and on and on of people that participated and did such a wonderful job. We had a good crowd there. And just really want to thank people for that, for coming out to the events. And the other thing with that, at the events, there's an energy there, and there's a different thing to the learning curve. Just about being at the live event, seeing each individual, Tom Keener doing his part, Rich Schaffer, Heidi Keener, myself,
unmuted,
having their own individual talents. We discuss this on the road. It's something to see. It's great training. And we're seeing the best teams, or as far as the teams that have the most productivity, are the ones that are latching onto the duplicatable process and using what's in the back office and, moving through the process that we have in place. So the live events, Friday and Saturday, will be October 18th and 19th, St. Louis, Missouri. Saturday, October 19th, Columbia, South Carolina. Tuesday, October 29th, Columbia, South Carolina. Friday and Saturday, November 8th, Albany, Georgia, and Friday and Saturday, November 15th and 16th, San Antonio, Texas. I want you all to know we're already talking about the potential for something out in the California area. We've talked about the potential for something in the Ohio area. So if you have any areas that you think you could put people together, please feel free to give us a call. Or send an email to us. And we're just moving towards the kickoff, and the kickoff is what we're really focusing on at this point. And as you can see on the banner there, it's October 11th. It said the $99 registration fee ends. We want you all to know that we've extended that till midnight through tonight, and that's going to take effect. And the rest of
muted
still holds true there through the 18th. It'll be $119. That will actually start on midnight, so not on the 12th, but the $119 will start on the 15th, and then the 19th and 23rd will be $129, and October 24th and 26th will be $139. I can't tell you how excited we are to have this event. Just seeing the energy we're seeing in the small rooms and the crowds that we know and are anticipating for the event. In Dallas, we were really surprised by how many people showed up that did not register. And so I just want to say, just in general, please, for the kickoff event, it's about seating, it's about logistics, it's about making sure that we do the best event possible, the best seating possible, that we accommodate as many people as possible. And so please do your pre-registration and just go online. It's easy to do. At the national kickoff, we're going to have some very special promos for individuals that are showing up at the event. These promos will not be extended to individuals that did not attend. I did add, someone asked me today, are we going to be recording the event for posting? And no, we don't record our events. We don't typically post our events. And so I would make the effort to get down there. We know it's going to be an exciting event, a lot of great information for people, along with the promos of the training that we're going to have there at the event. instead of 2 field training sales and 2 personal sales. If you attend, your requirements will be reduced to 2 field training sales only and 1 personal sale. And that's a big deal because trying to get that done can be the difference in moving forward and not. In addition, before you've done all of your team training sales before the event, 101, 102, and 103 sessions, those who attend the kickoff event will be able to attend Train the Trainers in advance. So do know that you've already completed the field training sales and personal sales before being invited to the Train the Trainers, then obviously that holds. But otherwise, however, those who attend the kickoff event will be able to be in the Train the Trainers in advance of doing the required field training and personal sales. This means you can attend the 101 sales training sessions prior to completing your required training sales. Those attending the kickoff event will get a 25% off coupon to use either on the purchase of their own Worth account or to give a client or agent. That's going to now expire on November 8th. That's going to expire on November 8th. All right. So we just want everybody to know that we're excited about the kickoff event. We've seen quite a few registrations over the past few days because people know the rooms are running out. And we still have room for people, but we're really excited just by the excitement we're seeing in the small rooms, what we're anticipating, what we're already seeing for having this kickoff event. So get your rooms, get yourself in there. In the national kickoff event, we have the special pricing of $145 per night as long as the room blocks are still there. You can call for your room block, or you can go to your back office. You can click on to register. This is where you get your tickets for the event. Very simple to register for the event. Down here at the bottom is where you would get your room block. I don't know if room blocks are still in effect. You would have to click there and see where it directs you and what the cost of the room is at this point. But I know the last time I checked there was still some available. So make sure you go to that. And then Blog Talk Radio, what we always promote because it is something we've seen that's been very good for the field, getting on the call and finding out what's working. You can do that at 646-787-8176, and that's Blog Talk Radio Worth Agents. And so this evening, we have the absolute pleasure, and I'm going to see if we can get them both on the line right now.
Unmuted.
Dr. Joan, do we have you there?
I am here.
And Richard Schaffer, do we have you there? Hello, Rich.
I am here.
All right, you sound a little far away. I've got you unmuted. You just sound far away.
Yeah, you should have me. You should be able to hear me now.
Yeah, I can hear you, but you just sound out on my end. Does anybody else hear any distortion in his voice?
It's a little muffled.
Yeah, it just sounds muffled, Rich.
All right, I'll try.
I don't know what that is, but I've got you, and I've got you in here. So, all right. Okay, so Richard Schaffer and Joan Haakonstad have very, different mindsets, but they agree on a lot of things that I came to understand, in a conversation that I had with them. And they have very lateral career paths. They've done much of the same work. Now, that we pride ourselves on who we put on the calls to make sure that we give you good information. We're going to talk this evening about recruiting done right. And I believe Richard Schaffer and Joan Haakonstad have had enough experience in their fields of endeavor, real estate, mortgage, insurance, brokerage, own their own businesses. They've been very successful in businesses outside of Worth Unlimited, outside of what we used to know as United First Financial.
I can't think of two people that in lateral paths of business have had to do recruiting in order to sustain the type of businesses that they were going through. So I also want to say this. You all know I've been with the company for a long time, and these are two people that I hold in very high esteem. The information that they deliver is always on point. I want you to really pay attention this evening. This is a true pleasure for me. This is one of those situations where I will definitely have a notepad out and I will be taking notes. So I suggest that you do the same. And with that having been said, I want to turn the time over to Dr. Joan Haakonstad and Mr. Richard Schaffer. And without any further delay, we'll just jump right into the program. And I believe Dr. Joan is the one that is starting us off, if that's correct.
That is correct. I was going to say I'm the female of the group, if you couldn't tell, but I guess that's not necessary now. So thank you so much for having us on tonight. I really do appreciate it. We are really talking about one of my absolute positively favorite topics that there is, and that's recruiting. Quite frankly, it is the lifeline that we need for any type of business, whether it is in the direct sales, whether it's not. It doesn't matter. To have a sustainable business, you have to have duplicatable, replicatable systems, and you constantly have to recruit. You constantly have to build. So tonight we're going to be talking about recruiting. It's necessary in recruiting to understand who you should be recruiting, what to look for, what to avoid, and how to build really those go-now people with proper structure. So all of these things are things that we are going to be talking about tonight. So first, let's talk about the process of recruiting. So the process is pretty darn simple. There's really four main areas to recruiting. Number one, you need to gain interest. We'll talk about that in just a second. You need to send videos and or live webinar information or live opportunity web information. And then you need to follow up, have that follow-up appointment scheduled, and then begin training and support. So what does that mean that you need to gain interest? Well, we all need to identify with whom we're going to start. In the first place, every person should start. Every single agent on this call and beyond should start with creating a list of people that you know. Now, why do we start there even with recruiting? Because guess what? I hate to tell you, but you're going to mess it up. And I don't mean that meanly. I'm not trying to set you up to fail by any means, but we all mess it up. I've been doing this since 2007, and I still mess it up. It's okay. The good news is that the person in front of you has no idea what you were going to say, so they don't know whether you did or did not mess it up. But the further good news is when you mess it up with people that you know and that already know, like, and trust you, you don't have to worry about it. They're more forgiving. So you always start with a list of people that you know. My suggestion, sit down with an Excel spreadsheet or with a piece of paper, write down any and every name that comes to mind without judgment. You can go back and judge if you want. On a scale of 1 to 5, where's their desire to get out of debt or where's their desire to become their own business owner, and then pick up the phone. Well, I'm sorry, we'll get to that in just a second. So with whom do I start? Now, you're going to get through that list at some point. If you're actually picking up the phone, you're actually working the business, you're going to get through that list. So you also need to identify areas that you can actually go prospecting. Where can you build your list? Where can you get in front of people? I suggest that you create a target market. Who do you want to target as agents? And now that's something we're actually going to talk about next week. Maybe you're a realtor. You want to go after other realtors. Maybe you're an insurance agent. You want to go after other insurance agents. Maybe you are working in an office. You want to go after people working in that office. I suggest starting with your target market that is the profession or hobby that you currently are doing. That's really the best place to start because you have the same lingo. You know what makes people tick in that industry. And you know some of the important value propositions of why that person would now want to become an agent. So that part's kind of critical. Now that you have a list, you know where you're going to be starting, you need to know what you're going to say to start that conversation. What's your commercial going to be? So I suggest that you practice with a family or a friend and start practicing how to start the introduction. Now, I suggest that you practice that with a family or friend and not with your upline, because this gives you an opportunity to introduce it to somebody else. You really want to take constructive feedback. When they say, oh my goodness gracious, I have no idea what you just said, listen to them, adjust, ask them what they would need to hear to get excited to want to move forward, and adjust your commercial accordingly. Now, I suggest you have 2 or 3 different commercials that you can use at different times, so ask them what their suggestions and their input is, and even ask some family for their input. You also want to be able to have something to start that conversation with your friends and family, those people on the list that you just created. I suggest that you form them. FORM is an acronym for family, occupation, recreation, and message.
Unmuted.
Their family. Ask them about their occupation. Ask them about their hobbies, about their recreation. Do this before you deliver their message. You don't want them to feel like they are just a number to you. You don't want them to feel like you're just calling them to recruit them. You really want to care about them and talk about what's important to them. So form them, ask them about those types of things. And then start asking lots of questions. You really want to get to know that prospect. What makes them tick? What makes them happy about what they're doing? What makes them excited? There's really going to be several different areas where you're going to be recruiting people. Some people need a plan B. They want an additional source of income. Some people want to enhance their core business. And other people are really looking for a crusade, something that they can be a part of that's bigger and better than what they are. Get to know your prospect. Ask lots of questions so you can find out what's important to them. Why would they want to become an agent? Do they want to enhance their core business? Are they looking for a plan B? Are they looking for a crusade? Ask them, get to know them. Use these questions to also disqualify people. I think that that's actually a little bit more important than qualifying people, because there are some people out there that we don't want to work with. There are people out there that should not represent our product and our company. Those bad apples can ruin the bunch. So you do want to also use this to disqualify people that you don't want to work with or shouldn't represent the product. So make sure you're asking lots of questions. I usually say practice the 80-20 rule. 80% of the time they're talking, 20% of the time you're talking. And you can do this and still lead and guide the conversation by asking lots and lots of questions. So based on how they answer those questions, you want to make sure that you tell stories. Remember, people act because of emotion. They have to have emotion up. So people make decisions based on emotion. They back it up with logic. In fact, 90% of every single decision, 90% is based on emotion and backed by logic. The way to get to that person's emotion is by stories. Facts tell, stories sell. You want to get to those stories, but it's not just any story. It's a story that's relevant to that specific person in front of you. So tell relevant stories and then set the appointment in stone. What does that mean? Well, this initial conversation is great, but now they have to learn about the product. Now they have to learn about the compensation. So depending on whether you're going to use a webinar, videos, or a live opportunity meeting, you need to let them know what to expect and set a follow-up appointment. Do not leave that conversation without scheduling a follow-up appointment. Now, if they're watching videos, your follow-up appointment should be within 24 to 72 hours. If they're attending a live webinar, your appointment follow-up should be within 24 hours of that webinar. If they're attending a live meeting, if you cannot make it to that live meeting, and quite frankly, even if you can, your follow-up appointment should be within 12 to 24 hours of that live meeting. So make sure you have that follow-up appointment solidified. And then do what you say you're going to do. If they're going to be watching videos, send them the videos. Send them the link to the webinar. If they're going to be attending an opportunity meeting, send them the link for that or send them the information. That information should include your name, your phone number, of course, your agent ID, especially if you can't attend. You want to make sure that that person is going to be linked and tracked back to you. And that's how you're going to do it. Have them print out that email, bring it with them to that opportunity meeting. Now, for that follow-up appointment, what do? The very first question you should ask that person is, what did you like best about what you saw? You want to force them to have a positive response. You want to force that. And quite frankly, remember, anything you say, you're saying as a salesperson because you have an agenda of recruiting them. Anything they say is 100% accurate, and they are now selling themselves on why they want to move forward. So ask that question. And then don't be shy about your second question. Do you have any questions? A lot of people really shy away from that question because they're concerned that they don't know the answer. Guess what? It's okay if you don't know the answer. What you can do is a three-way call to your upline. Edify the heck out of your upline. A lot of people misappropriate that. They actually edify their prospect as opposed to their upline. Edify the person that you're going to get on the phone call with you. Edify the heck out of that person. That prospect should be so excited to get that leader on the call that they can't believe you got them on the line. They should be so excited about that. So edify the heck out of that person and then close them. But that's really the start of it. Now the real work begins. You need to begin training and support, and we're going to talk more about that in just a minute. But now that you're starting to recruit, you need to make sure that you're really placing them in the proper way. So, Rich? Are you there, Rich?
Yeah, I should be.
There you are.
Okay, can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Can you hear me now? Is that okay or no?
Yes, we can hear you. You're a little bit soft, so speak up, but we can hear you.
You still sound a little low, but we can hear you. It sounds like you're in a fishbowl. It's not very clear.
That's so strange. I think it might be the... Hold on a second. It might be the connection, I don't know, but I can't get any better than that, I'm afraid.
That seems better there.
Is that a little bit better?
That's a little bit better.
As it's going to get, I'm afraid. But, Joan, thanks so much. That was phenomenal. I think she did a lot of really important points, and we had talked about this before, and I think one of the things that is exciting to me is that we both have a very recruiting-first bias. But let me caveat that and say that one of the things we're proud about in this particular company, this unique platform, if you will, this hybrid business model, is that unlike many network-based companies, you literally have to be able to recruit thousands of people to make any money. Let's just be honest and call it what it is. Because of auto ship and all these other things, and you don't make a lot of money, you're dealing with, typically you're dealing with more product, consumable type of industries. And so you've got to be a massive recruiter. One of the challenges that exist there is that most people may not be a natural-born salesperson, but if they really believe in something and are truly passionate about it, they certainly can impose that degree of passion on other people and have a degree of success in sales. It doesn't always relate to recruiting, right? Because recruiting is something that is a different sort of skill set. Learning how to prospect and recruit and train and lead and so forth is sometimes a developed skill set. The beautiful thing about our company is that you don't need tens of thousands of people. Joan's probably one of the better recruiters that I know, and she'll be the first to tell you that, because you can attract a better quality caliber of person or candidate, doesn't make them a better or worse person or human being. But when you're dealing with people that have the ability and a leverage to recruit highly qualified financial professionals, and even if you're not in that industry, you're going to find that you have the ability to attract those kind of people. And we're going to do a call on that specific topic next week, as Joan alluded to, because her and I agree that that's the single most popular topic that we get asked. How do you intelligently communicate to these sort of people? So with that in mind, you want to take a little bit of a sort of a interesting sort of vantage point about, if I'm going to recruit, number one, what are the right kind of people? Joan gave a lot of great insight into how you're able to identify the right type of individuals. We're going to talk a little bit more about that in a minute as well. But if you were to look at this particular graphic here, and you could say which one of these particular models appeals to you more, right? Where you're recruiting directly 40, 50, or 100 plus people, which could make you a great recruiter, but again, not only is it not necessary, but most people don't have that sort of embedded skill set. But what's just as important is being able to build deep. You want to build people that have autonomous, independent, capable, duplicatable, compliant leadership. And that's really the difference between a salesperson and a recruiter and a leader. So there's a lot of individuals that may be good salespeople in various different fields. And that's a very different skill set in itself. And that's certainly, there's a place for that. In our company, you have the ability to just genuinely market the product directly if you chose. But those that look to be recruiters, they either are individuals that want to have large organizations, but you're going to find that that's not incredibly necessary. In fact, Heidi Keener and I were talking, and she probably only has maybe 5 directs, yet she's got 900 reps because she had really key people. But just as importantly, she drove deep down within them. Because unlike a lot of companies where the people get further away from you, you don't make much money on, it doesn't really apply as much here because we're focusing on the base shop. And by that we mean individuals working within the structure of your immediate team until they become their own managers. So if you focus on, you don't need to have 50 children to have a lot of grandchildren. If you raise good children, they're going to be able to raise their own children very successfully. So I think this graphic helps illustrate that we're not dictating that there's one way or another to do it necessarily, but you really, really would do yourself a great justice by focusing on how to be able to build other independent people. You can show the next one too if you like, Matt. Now, here's one of the things that is kind of a funny phraseology, but being picky. And by that, we don't mean being arrogant or anything along those lines, but you have the unique luxury of being able to pick quality people. You don't have to pick just masses of people like you hear in the expression oftentimes, whoever can fog a mirror, just people throw things against the wall and see what sticks. We have the luxury of not having to do that. And one of the things I'm going to use perhaps in a graphic that I'll incorporate on the program that Joan and I are going to do next week is different vantage points. You could take a recruit to sell or a sell to recruit, right? Either is acceptable, but one thing is for sure, depending on how you approach it, there is definitely a metric that determines one that's going to give you a greater level of success than the other. But that being said, you still have a preference. The one thing for sure is we're not a company that's just recruiting for the sake of recruiting. Why is that? Well, because we don't get paid to recruit. Now, I know that legally in other network-based companies, you're not technically getting paid to recruit. But because when they join, they always have to buy a package of this, that, or the other, or lotion, or potion, or juice, or coffee, or whatever the case may be, well, they indirectly get paid as a result of recruiting those people to get on board and, of course, be able to purchase those products. But for here, of course, it's only $49. The company doesn't even make money on that. In fact, the company probably loses money involved with the resources that are involved in being able to help facilitate that. So you don't want to get focused on that recruiting to recruiting type of mentality. The other thing I really enjoy about this part of it is when I look at somebody, I can genuinely say if I was talking to Joan, there's only one reason that I would have a desire to recruit you in this business. That's because I genuinely believe that you could be successful. Because there's no vested financial interest to do otherwise. And you're going to find not only is it a powerful thing to say, but it really resonates in a very, very credible way. Otherwise, most of the time when you talk about these opportunities, people feel like you have commission breath, right? They feel like you're having an incentive to tell them what they want to hear just so you can recruit them, just so you can get paid to do so. And that doesn't apply here. So we're very, very proud of that. I notice here it says the number of people you hire will limit the time you can spend, which means if you have too many people, in other words, you recruit too many people and you can't cultivate, you may have a lot of directs, but you can't genuinely help them replicate the process. I know this is an insane example, but if you had 25 children, I don't think that's even physically possible, but if you did, how much time could you spend with any one child? Let's face it, if you have more than 3, 4, 5 kids, it starts getting pretty hard. I have one daughter, and sometimes I challenge that I'm able to give her the time that she truly deserves. So you want to focus on giving people the same genuine opportunity you have, which is giving them not just the ability to have the opportunity, but the confidence and the training and the conviction necessary to be able to be successful as well. So you want to be able to hire quality people so you don't have to train the basic things. Now, I'm going to give you a simple analogy. I ran a number of marathons, 6 in fact, and I may or may not ever run one again. But if I decide I want to train for one, I don't have the luxury of finding random people off the street that have never ran before. Because to train to run a marathon, you have to go to a stretching clinic and a shoe clinic and an exercise clinic and a diet clinic. There's a lot of things involved with training to run 10, 20, 30 miles at a time and to be able to perform at that kind of distance. I've got to find people who already have those basic skill sets, that core competency. So when you hire professionals, not even just financial professionals, but sales professionals, they know how to make a phone call. They know how to make a list of qualified people. They know how to set appointments, right? They know the basic fundamental protocol, and this will save you an enormous amount of energy. This is an interesting one. All of your people can't be projects. That doesn't mean you don't love them. It doesn't mean you don't support them. But remember something, and this was a very hard thing for me to learn and truly accept early on in my career, when my first mentor said that you cannot make your business a charity. Focus on your business, be successful, and you can support any benevolent, charitable, philanthropic endeavor you want. But you cannot make your business a charity. You've got to focus on the people that not just need it, but the people that want it. 2 last things. Don't pick your winners too soon. And by that we mean when you've got this guy, the everybody uses expression, they're a big hitter, this woman's a big hitter, and all of a sudden the people you think are going to be great never do anything. On the other hand, the very unsung heroes sometimes surprise you and truly become superstars. Now, we say only hire those that can buy the product. Now, you don't have to buy the product to work here. We don't require that. That's not why we're saying it. If you completely extracted the ability to make a commission on the purchasing the product, I would still say the same thing, and here's why. And it doesn't mean you won't hire people to buy the product. Not everybody can. In fact, not everybody has debt. We certainly understand that. But it's a good barometer because 9 out of 10 questions that we get on how to utilize the program, how it works, how to go through the process, other people don't own the product, right? Because if they did, they would not only have more confidence, more conviction, more passion, more credibility, but more day-to-day knowledge as well. Go ahead, Matt. And the next slide talks about something else that I really like, which is go now people. It sounds like a strange expression, right? But you really want people that are really ready and willing to go immediately. In other words, the timing isn't right for everybody, and we totally understand that. But if people don't become active, they'll be kind of ultimately purged from the system anyway. So you really want to get that genuine commitment up front. And Joan said something that I really resonates with me as well, that you really want to have a conversation, and it's something related to an expression we've all heard many times. What is their why? And that sounds like just a really overly used expression. But when you ask somebody, why do you want to be involved in our business? What's important to you about being successful or financially independent, right? What is it that motivates you? Now, most people aren't going to just say money motivates them, even if it does, right? But nonetheless, what are the things in life? What are the 2 or 3 things that primarily motivate you personally and professionally in your life? Here's another thing. You want to focus on people that are willing to be part-time, not spare time. Anything you do in life, if you want to be successful, you can't just do it when and if you get around to it. If you're going to learn to speak a language or pick up a hobby, you can't just do it now and again. I don't care if it's 5 minutes a day or it's 30 minutes a week, but it's got to be consistent. If you're going to have success as a part-time agent, you probably need to have 3 to 4 appointments a week. If you're going to be full-time, you're probably looking at 6, 8, maybe 10 appointments a week. Over the course of 5, 6, 7 days a week, that's not really an overt amount of activity. And Joe alluded to this as well. I think the crusade is very important. And we don't say that pragmatically, but really the focus of helping people get out of debt and giving them hope is a big thing. That sounds like a lot of words until you start getting on some of the calls we're on, and you see people that thought they were going to have 25, 30-plus years to pay off their debts, if ever, and they just give it up. If I told you how many people I've done mortgages for that are 50, 55, 60 years old taking out 30-year mortgages, it's pretty optimistic, isn't it? No, it's not. It means they've already conceded that they're never going to pay it off. And you show somebody they can take that same debt and pay it off in 8, 10, 12 years. It changes their life. It's absolutely phenomenal. It says recruit by day, sell by night. By that we mean be able to prospect, especially financial professionals during the day, and you can do appointments at night, and you can do them by Zoom. The reason for that is because you want to get both spouses together at the same time. You don't ever believe someone they say they make the financial decisions in their household. I tell you that. You need more personal sales to recruit. But by that we say that you're not just recruiting because you want those recruits, not only qualified people that believe in the product and see the need, but also those that are going to lead you to other people. Remember, you're not just recruiting to them, you're recruiting through them, and you're focused on people that have credibility and certainly a database of clients and so forth. Great expression. You're only one recruit away from explosion. I had a call today with 2 extraordinary people from Dallas, Texas, that I think are going to be absolute superstars in this business, and you can never underestimate where that's going to come from. A new recruit is your biggest cheerleader. Now, that may mean you're going to be the biggest edifier of what we do, much more than us, right? Because we don't know these people. When you get a new excited person, they see how big a difference it's made on them. You'd be amazed to see how far that really can go. Now, I'll touch on this one, and I'll turn it back over to Joan, because there's a couple of things that we're going to do in tandem here. Focus on a couple of these things in particular. Train done right. Now, what are we referring to there? It's that direct new recruits, you want them to study the back office. Remember, that's something they don't need your help to do. That's something they can do on their downtime. Put them to task, right? Don't make them completely dependent upon you. You match effort with effort. So you want to require that all new agents get certified ASAP. We're going to talk a little bit more about what that involves. But to be certified as a trainer, not just being a rep, not just owning the product, not just being able to sell to their direct, but being a qualified, certified field trainer is very, very important so they have the confidence to be able to do so, but also you can help them to shoulder the responsibility of those 2 field training sales. There's no reason that they can't take advantage of webinar modules. We certainly have a lot of these. We have a Monday night call here for the company. I know that Lee's Seniors organization, I know for sure, has a Wednesday night team call. I know that Joan does hers as well. We do the blog talk calls. The company has training calls and so forth. So take full advantage of those online resources. Develop strong personal relationships. I cannot begin to tell you how truly important this is. Just like when you're talking with a client and you ask them what their why is, how would it feel to be completely debt-free? You should really have some of those same conversations with your reps, right? What would it mean to you to be in a position to be financially independent? what's important to you about being successful. Get a real read for what is important to them, because not all the things that are important to us are going to be equally important to others. You want to make sure they plug into the system, right? We have a lot of orientations and training, a lot of video, and a lot of recorded content. Joan talks a lot about this one, which I'm really impressed with. You really want to have a written game plan, right? You know the expression, people don't plan to fail, they fail to plan. Having a game plan, even if it's 30, 60, 90 days out, is going to give them an enormous sense of focus and clarity about where they're going. And you want to get new recruits in the field. You want to get them actually getting appointments early on to show them this works, and also because they're going to see they're not the only ones that see how incredible this is. You get them doing appointments early on, they have the confidence they can be successful and the conviction necessary to see how powerful this really is in other people. Joan,
the reality is, Rich, you can't want it more than what your agent does. And I think what Rich was really talking about was making sure that your agent wants it, that you're not working harder than your agent. So they have to want it as much as you. Finding out that why is critical, because people are going to hear that word no. We all do, and I guarantee you that if you're not at the partner level, which Rich and both Rich and I are at, we've heard the word no more than you. So the word no simply means that they don't know K-N-O-W, enough information to move forward at that time. They need more information, or the timing is just not right. So that why, and really understanding what is making them motivated to keep active with this, that personal relationship is going to be what's going to help them overcome that word no. So really getting to know your agents is absolutely critical. So now that you do have a new agent, you've gotten to know them, you've really found their motivation behind it, you found out their why, what do you do now? Well, the very first step is that new agent should run their own analysis. And quite frankly, they should invest in the program if they qualify. Now, if they don't qualify, I can't emphasize this enough, do not invest in the program. If you don't qualify, if you have more money going out and you do not qualify for the program, we will make your situation worse by investing in the program. However, if you do qualify for the program, I think you should absolutely be on the program. 80% of people, I'm sorry, that's not true. The people that are on the program outsell and outperform those that are not on the program, pure and simply. And as Rich said, you will get more benefit by being on the program than, quite frankly, most people will on an agency status. So make sure that you're a product of the product. I'd also say, and I say this as me as an agent, not representing the company whatsoever, I find it a little bit hypocritical if you qualify for the program and don't invest in it, and that you then go out to other people and say, but you should buy it. It's not good enough for me, but it's good enough for you, is what the message you're delivering is. So run your analysis, invest in the program if it makes sense for you, if you qualify, be a product of the product. The next step new agents should do is they need to create the list of prospects, the list of people that they know. I touched on this earlier. What I suggest is go and get an Excel spreadsheet. If you know Excel, I think that's the easiest thing to do, because you can put a person's name into each field, and then you don't have to think about it. You don't have to worry about, oh gosh, did I already write this person? Did I already include this person? Because you can go back and easily check that. So input anybody and everybody's name that comes to mind. Be in a quiet place that you can have a little bit of time alone and really focus on this. Get a telephone book, get a memory jogger, get your cell phone list out, get your Christmas card list or your holiday card list. Really create a list of people that you know. Do not judge. Now, after you've done that list, and you'll probably have at least 250 people. The average person has about 250 people. Not everybody's going to be a good candidate, and that's okay. So after you've created that list without judgment, now you're going to judge. You're going to go back and you're going to determine, are they a good agent prospect or a client prospect, and then you're going to rank them on a scale of 1 to 5. 1, not so hot. Maybe it's Aunt May. She's 105 years old. She has no desire to work another day in her life, and she has no debt. So she is not necessarily a good candidate to become an agent or a client. Now, that said, she still needs to stay on your list, because guess what? Aunt May knows people. Just because we're talking about recruiting doesn't mean that everybody you speak with is going to become an agent. They may be a good referral source. I believe strongly in Pavlovian conditioning. You reward the behavior you want repeated. So if Aunt May gives you a referral, guess what? I suggest, and again, it's your business, you need to run it as you'd like, I suggest that you reward that. I usually pay 50% of my first month's commission because I want to reward the behavior I want repeated. So rank them on that scale. A 5 would be somebody that's super excited. Maybe they were talking about how they needed to enhance their core business. Maybe they were talking about how they needed a plan B. Maybe they were talking about how they really wanted to become their own boss. They were so tired to be a slave to somebody else and be really stuck in those hours that they have to give. They want to spend more time with their family. We have opportunities. So that would be a 5. And then you're going to pick up the phone, which we'll get to in just a second. You first need to practice and rehearse what you're going to say. What are you going to say? How are you going to start that conversation? Work with your upline on that. I mentioned talking or practicing your commercial with a friend or a family so that you're prepared. But you also need to talk to your upline. What are you going to say after that commercial started? How are you going to introduce the program? What are you going to say about the program? What are you going to say about the opportunity? How are you going to get them excited and engaged with it? So talk to your upline, and quite frankly, have your upline on the call with you if you would like. A lot of leaders are more than happy to assist you with those phone calls if you ask. Now, not everybody wants that to happen, and that's okay, but you still need to be prepared for that phone call. So practice what you're going to say with your upline, and then, most importantly, pick up the phone. Start making those phone calls. Start that conversation that matters. I love sports in general. I really, truly love sports. And Wayne Gretzky is an incredible, well, used to be an incredible hockey player, and he's quoted as saying, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Start taking shots, because it's going to be a no if you don't start the conversation. At least if you start the conversation, you have a shot at getting a yes. So start those conversations that matter. And step 5, which is actually not listed on the previous screen, is that you, as Rich said, you do need to get them engaged in training. You need to get them engaged in your team training, in the corporate training, and get them really engaged in the company in general. So field training done right, quite frankly, as the trainer, you are responsible to ensure that your person's going to be successful. The reality is, though, not everybody's going to be successful, but there are things that you can do to help keep people engaged as a leader. First, make sure that you're copying those trainees on all emails to the clients. If you're doing a call with a prospect, do a 3-way call with that person that introduced you. I hear so many times that I'll get an email or a phone call, hey, Joan, could you give this person a call? They're so excited. I really want you to hear what they have to say, but they're asking questions I don't know the answer to. Could you just give them a call? Well, I hate to tell you, that's a horrible way to learn. It's my job to make sure that you as an agent are learning. So guess what? No, I'm not just going to give them a call, but you and I together can do it. So do 3-way calls with your upline to help answer those more challenging questions. And as a leader, make sure you're doing those 3-way calls with your trainees as well. Make sure that those people at senior associate levels, and sometimes even director's level, are still kind of treated as an associate. And I don't mean that meanly if you're at the level of senior associate or director, but the reality is you still need help. And a lot of leaders believe that once you get to that senior associate level, that you are good, you're independent, you're standing strong, and you can do it on your own. And the reality is you may be in business for yourself, but you're not in business by yourself. And it really is a leader's responsibility to keep you engaged and help continue to support you. In fact, one of the people that I speak with most often is a partner on my team, and we chat pretty much several times, maybe 2 or 3 times a day. So always support your teammates. You really have to, as that leader, make sure that you're supporting those teammates. You need to make sure that you're available for field training. Now, Rich was talking about making sure that you don't get yourself way too thin. I am that person. I messed it up terribly. I'm actually going through and trying to correct the mistakes that I've made because I did recruit very flat. In fact, I've personally sponsored over 300 agents. I'm very flat, and I'm trying to make some corrections here. So with that said, there's no way that I can be a field trainer for absolutely everybody. So in that situation, you need to make sure that you have other teammates on your team that can be available to be that CFC or that certified field coach that can be there to help train. But if you are going to recruit, you need to be available to help them with those field training calls, and you need to be available to help them with that support. Remember, though, difficulties go up the ladder. If you are upset about something, if something's challenging you, you don't talk about it with people that are in your downline. You can talk to the people that are in your upline. Bring it up. Bring it up to the partners on your team. Bring it up to corporate if need to. But challenges and difficulties go up. They do not go down. Rich?
I thought that was absolutely phenomenal. The thing I noticed most on that one is exactly what you said, past positives, you know, the negatives up and the positives down. And I also extracted one of the things that really sticks me there too is that the importance of running your own analysis and getting on the phone. I don't think Joan could have probably emphasized that more. It's so, so important. One of the things that's important with building as well, and I think Joan is probably one of the best recruiters I know. I think one of the strengths that I've worked at is being a good builder, is trying to replicate the ability to create independent, transferable people. And a couple of things that we've, I think, done well over the years, and it's always a constant process, is to treat everyone in your base shop as if they're direct to you. Now, let me explain what that means. Let's just say that anybody that is before that executive director level, regardless of where they may fall in the food chain, so to speak, of your business, you treat them just like they're direct to you, even if they're 5, 6, 8, 10 levels down below you, because they're all still living at home, so to speak, right? So it's a little like, you know, your children, whether they're 2 or 10 or 12, they're all living at home if you want to look at it in that context. Now, once they move out on their own, you only have so much say over their life, whether you like it or not. And you want to treat every one of them like they have an equal ability to be able to communicate with you independent of where they are in your organization, particularly if they're still in your base shop. When your agents get to 50%, start cutting them off. Well, you know, I think more so in that respect, we're referring to the fact that once they start getting a certain degree of independence, they get a certain degree of success, our goal at that point is not to cut them off necessarily, but to start knowing that they have a responsibility to start building their own teams. Now, I'll add something to that, though. When we say that a recruit is not a recruit until they get a recruit, right? Every one of us on this call that have had children, we've all been children, and we didn't think our parents knew anything, and we thought we had it all figured out until, guess what? We had our own kids. The next thing we realized, our parents were geniuses, and we couldn't believe how much they knew looking back in retrospect. It's very, very much the same way. So a recruit's not truly a recruit until they have a recruit. Now they've given birth, so to speak, professionally, and they have a sense of responsibility and accountability to those individuals they want to be successful as well. Build executive directors in each leg, right? Part of our goal is when you get every one of your directs, you want to basically have 3, 4, 5, get somebody solid. 3, 4, 5, get somebody solid. And each time you get somebody within your span of control, so to speak, don't be greedy. Know that you only have so much time, effort, and energy, and we can't possibly supply the amount of energy and support everybody needs if we're spread too thin. So the focus is to get some core people that can build their level to executive director. You help them develop some key people and getting them to do some production. Now, they're never going to be 100% autonomous, maybe, because there's always the value of maintaining those relationships. I think Joan is particularly good at that. But the whole focus is to build them to that point where they have that independence. Work below your people to get them having the confidence that they can do it on their own. Bear in mind, this can be intimidating for certain people. Although we've made it as simple and streamlined as possible, everything is easy once you know how to do it. But the focus is getting them to have the confidence that they have the ability to do it on their own as well. Next slide, Matt. Now, this one I actually think is a pretty interesting little snapshot, too. 1 of every 4 agents will be ready to go now and most likely become leaders. Now, those numbers can lie, but I find it's generally 3 to 5, so that's why we're using 4. You're going to find, and by the way, it doesn't always happen in that order. You might have to go 5, 6, 8, 10 people to find that one person. You might find 2 or 3 in a row. But the important thing here is that out of every handful of people, so in this example, they probably got like 10 directs, right? That's probably a lot for the average person, I'll be honest. I tell the average person to focus on 3. Try to identify 3 people to start out with and try to taproot, if you want to say it that way, at least one of them. Find at least one that's willing to be a rabbit. The other important thing about taprooting, so to speak, is you're going to find somebody in that group that's going to be a rabbit that's going to want to really go, and that's going to motivate everybody else above them because you're missing out, right? So really, really important that you scale it. And think about that as terms of span of control. The military has systems like that. They operate that as well. Corporations understand that as well. You can only manage, lead, and successfully motivate so many people at one time. But you want to help shoulder that burden. You want to create other independent, capable leaders. You want to incentivize them to see it. And, of course, yes, sometimes that fear of missing out or the inspiration of going, wow, I've got some people really working on my team. Whereas when you leave that to their own devices, they might, like Joan said, they don't have as much experience in this process as we do. And so it's part of our responsibility to help be able to get a few of those really key people moving for them as well. I think we can, yeah. Now, I'm going to talk about these couple of things here as well. Back up one slide there, Mac, if you wouldn't mind. Just to basically snap on a couple of things. If you notice, we're going to call this compression, right? Work around, not through. Now, this is interesting because you're going to find there are going to be those not everybody's going to pan out. This is life, right? I know some people say some will, some won't, so what? It's hard for me to say because I die a death every time somebody doesn't make it. That's just me, right? I take my business very personally. I want every single person that comes involved in our business to be successful, but that's just not reality. Not everything in life works out. Not all relationships work out. Not all marriages work out, and certainly all professional situations don't work out. But you want to build downline relationships. Really, it's probably the most important thing I could say here. Don't focus on just your firstborn, so to speak. You kind of want to get to know intimately the key people. Constantly ask the question of your directs, who on your team do you really see having a lot of great potential? Get on the phone with them. Let them know they have an open relationship to be able to communicate with you as well. You're never circumventing your directs or your leaders, but you're helping to build up the strength of that organization from underneath them.
I absolutely love what you just said. You are absolutely spot on. You should always be motivating everybody around you. And quite frankly, I would say it's not even just the people on your team. If somebody's not on your team, be willing to help, be willing to support. We should all be looking at this as a large team family, that we're all here to help each other. Now, we are running out of time, so I'm going to go through these next few slides super fast, so forgive me. But team motivation is really, really critical. As Rich just said, despite what you do, despite all your effort, some will, some won't, as they say, so what next? And I don't agree with that. I don't think it's a so what. If they are an agent on your team, you should still stay in contact with them. You should still try to motivate them. But the reality is there's an 80-20 rule. 80% of people will probably not do very much. They'll pop their head up from time to time, but they won't do as much as you'd like. 20% will hit the ground running. And that's really where you want to focus your attention, is really with those that are hitting the ground running. Now, when other people are popping their heads up, you need to focus on them. You need to help them as well. Support and encouragement are absolutely critical. But as Rich has said, not everybody can be a project. You cannot make your business a charity. That was one of the most critical things that was said tonight, and I hope you heard that loud and clear. You cannot make your business a charity. The philosophy of motivating a team properly is one of indirect, not direct pressure. And we're going to really talk more about that, I think, next week, because we're running a little bit late on slides today, or on our conversation today. So we're going to go through, again, the rest of this super, super fast. Let's look at this building. The building has the top on fire. If you're on the bottom floor of this building, are you excited? The top's on fire, but you're at the bottom. Too many agents become managers, and then they put pressure on the people below them to do things, and that's not what this is about. We're not here to put pressure on people. We want people to get excited. We want people to really be motivated to take action. We want the bottom to be on fire. So, if you're on the top floor of this building and your bottom floor is excited, are you excited if they're on fire? Absolutely. Make sure that your team is motivated. Make sure that they're excited. Make sure that they know you, that they are heard. Make sure that they know that you're there to support them when and as needed. Lead by example, and your team is going to catch on fire. So if you want your team to do more training appointments, guess what? You need to do more training appointments. You need to lead by example. It's that the speed of the pack is going to be determined by the speed of the leader. If you want more agents on your team, guess what? You as the leader need to recruit more. If you want to have more sales, you need to do more sales. Whatever speed you determine as a leader is what your team is going to take on. That's what they are going to do. So if you want more, you need to step it up and do more yourself. Rich?
Well, I think that was fantastic. I'll let this slide stand on its own merit, and we'll kind of leave it at that. I'll say this, and tongue-in-cheek, I don't know if I'm in a building that's on fire. I don't think I'm ever going to be excited in real life, but obviously for the analogy purpose of what we're going through, it's the idea of, there's a great expression one of my early mentors said, when you don't know what to do, set yourself on fire and people will come to watch you burn. Not in a literal way, but people are generated by the excitement around them. And I'll leave a couple of these points that I think are powerful. Nobody wants a boss, but everybody wants a coach. Another way to say that is, nobody wants to follow, but everybody wants to be led. They want to be inspired. Vision is the ability to see what others cannot yet see. And it's a very, very powerful strength to cultivate and allow your people to see. I'll say this, and this is something that we got from Art Williams many years ago. Literally every person, I mean this on a personal level too, not just in your business, but in your life, You know, I got some of the worst news in the world over the last 2 weeks. The 3 people that I knew and respected and cared about that all passed away prematurely. And everybody in their life has a sign that says, tell me I'm special, make me feel important. That's not just something that's hype and rah-rah. That's life, right? We live in a tough life. There's a lot of stresses in our everyday life. Make people feel special. The great expression is that people don't always remember what you say or even what you do, but they never forget how you make them feel. Have you made a point to contact some of your key people every day? And last, we'll leave it with this. Everybody can get excited for a couple of months. You've seen them, the flash in the pan, right? But you want people that can stay excited for 2 or 3 years or however long it takes to be successful. That's true in life, in friendships, in marriages, in partnerships, and everywhere in business. We want people that really have a commitment to see things through long term. And the thought I'll leave you with, and I think this is such an extraordinary thing, we're so honored to be a part of this. And if you spend any time with us, you hear the passion in Joan's voice, you've been to any of our trainings, you realize this is not just a passing thing to us. When Mac puts that last slide on there, and he said it so perfectly that we're literally trying to take back America one family at a time, and God knows our country needs it. And you'll find that the inspiration and hope that you give people through what we do is really second to none. Every January 1st, there are 2 top New Year's resolutions, fitness and finance. Get out of debt, save money, lose weight, and get in shape. And you're going to find that those things are at the core. So our ability to give people hope, genuinely the hope. And I think that as they get older, you start thinking of things that resonate with you. And I shared this with the group this weekend in Dallas. But, you know, one of the last things that my dad had kind of talked with me about before he passed a few years back was the 3 things in life it takes to be truly successful and happy. You need something to do, something to keep your mind, your body active. You need something to love, somebody or something to be truly passionate about. But last, perhaps not least, you need something to look forward to, whether it's next week or tomorrow or next year. You don't want to feel like the best of your days are behind you. And we give people hope, the hope to be out of financial bondage and have the ability to retire with dignity and have the joy that they want in their lives for their family. Thank you so much, everyone. I'll turn that back over to Mac.
And Rich, I'll tell you, Rich, I couldn't have said that any better. And for you and Joan both being on this call, man, what a call. What great comments we're getting from the field on this call. And there was something I did need to clear up. We had a slide a little bit earlier that said only hire those who buy the product. I want to make sure that you know that we cannot require that anyone purchase the product in order to be an agent. I want to make sure I say that as a corporate officer. That was no fault of anyone that was in the slide presentation that was created, so that was no fault of anyone other than the individual that, well. So with that having been said, I think what they're alluding to there, and I know what's being alluded to there, is we were talking about go now people and people being ready to go. And if somebody has a lot of debt and they have the means to purchase the product and they don't, I think everybody would agree that is a little hypocritical, but we cannot require that you purchase it to join to be an agent. And as you heard Joan and Rich both say, if you don't need the product, if it's not the best thing for you, we're not going to advise that someone purchase that product. We're here to help, not to detract. But Joan, do you I just want to say thank you so much for all the information you relayed, Rich, for the information you relayed. Everybody on the call, I want you to know that next week we're actually going to be hearing from Rich and Joan next week, and what they're going to be talking about, and I think you all really want to tune in on this one. They're going to dial this in as they did this evening. They're going to talk about recruiting professionals, and we're going to talk about mortgage brokers and insurance agents and other industry people that you should be looking at, and how do we speak a little bit of their language and how do we go there. So I want to thank everyone for getting on the call this evening. Once again, we invite anyone to get in touch with us in regards to being an agent contingent on purchasing the product. And Joan, Rich, thank you. And everyone, let's get out there and do it big. Let's get out there and do it right. But at the very least, let's get out there and do something right now. This is Max Saunders saying bye-bye for now.